Today I'm ranking the albums by Killswitch Engage. I have 9 albums to talk about. I'll be including a new one called This Consequence from 25, and I'm doing it in the same format I did with my previous ranking video. I do it in chronological order, and then I just place them in their respective positions. I like this format. I find it easier, so I'm going to start with the first one. First one is Killswitch Engage, their self-titled debut album. Released on July 4th, 2000 through Favorite Music, and the only album to be released on that label, as after this they get signed to Roadrunner for the next album. The album didn't have any singles released, and I thought it was a good start. It sounds more raw than the other albums. There's more of a focus on harsh vocals, less of the clean vocals. It kind of reminds me of that first Avenged Sevenfold album, where it's just a really old school metalcore sound. Sounds a lot like hardcore, with screaming style vocals and chugging guitars. Most songs have fast-paced rhythms. There are lots of good songs in here, such as the track Irreversible, that I like that one. It has brutal vocals. Then another good track, Soilborn, which has that raw brutality that this band had in the early days. This one has Jesse Leach on vocals, and it comes in at number 9. Let me also say that it comes in last, but despite this, it's still very good, as all these albums are really good. Next is Alive or Just Breathing, released on May 21st, 2002. This is their first major label debut, released on Roadrunner Records. And you hear the new updated sound. The album has a better production value. It's produced by drummer and guitarist Adam Dukowitz, and the last album with Jesse Leach on vocals until he comes back a few years later. But he took a break from the band after this album. I like this one a lot. I feel it has a very 2000s metal kind of sound, almost as if it's metalcore, but a little bit of that post-grunge sound that was popular at the time. Opening track Number Days had some spoken word parts and some killer guitar riffs. Self-Revolution has that classic metalcore sound with some awesome bass guitar playing. Fixation on the Darkness shows off the cleaner sound with melodic vocals and guitars. Last Serenade has some awesome guitar riffs, and then the track To the Sons of Man is probably one of the heaviest tracks they've ever recorded. So I would say a very balanced album, has a little bit of everything, a little bit of that modern sound, still some of that raw metalcore sound. And so I have this one at number 4. Next is The End of Heartache, released on May 11, 2004 through Roadrunner Records. First album to feature vocalist Howard Jones and drummer Justin Foley. Probably the album they're most known for. The album opens with a track, A Bid for a Whale, and the intro is very clean, but it builds up, and all of a sudden you hear Howard Jones, and he goes into this brutal scream, and it just lets you know that this band is still as heavy as always. Then there's a track, Take This Oath. This has one of their most memorable choruses of any song. Then another track, Darkness Falls. Another one really shows off Howard's vocals, both in terms of power and how he can switch seamlessly from heavy to harsh to clean. And the most popular track on the album is the title track, The End of Heartache. It's another really good song. Shows off his vocal ability and also has some really great drumming by Justin Foley. Overall, really good album. I have this one at number 2. Next is As Daylight Dies, and I'm going to a lighter room to record this because it got a little dark. But anyway, this was released on November 21st, 2006 through Roadrunner Records. Produced by the band's guitarist Adam Dukowitz and Joel Strutzel, and the album has Howard Jones on vocals. Opening track called Daylight Dies is a very melodic track to kick off the album. I noticed that this sound was a lot more dense. They still have the same kind of heavy guitar riffs and powerful vocals. Next track, this is Absolution, just a killer track with Howard Jones sounding very angry on this track. Then The Arms of Sorrow shows off the band's softer, more melodic side. But also a great song because Howard does deliver the clean vocals, but he maintains the power in his voice throughout the entire song. And one of the most popular tracks is called My Curse. Another one is more on the melodic side. It had more of that 2000s radio-friendly sound. But at the same time, they don't go too soft. It still has killer riffs and amazing vocals. And there are still a few tracks with more of that retro sound, such as For You, and filled with killer double bass drumming by Justin Foley. This is a great album. Now, this might surprise you, but this is going to be my number 1. Next is the second self-titled album, Killswitch Engage, released on June 30th, 2009 through Roadrunner, produced by Adam Dukowitz and Brendan O'Brien. And the last album with Howard Jones, it got mixed reviews. Many fans thought it had this cleaner sound, and we talked about this album on an episode of Is It That Bad? But I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. So the opening track is called Never Again. I thought it was pretty heavy track to open the album. Then the next song was called Starting Over. Another one that was very heavy, but I can hear them going in more of a radio-friendly direction with that one, and had more melodic guitar playing. There's still lots of heavy songs on this album, such as the track Reckoning, which has some intense drumming and some killer clean and harsh vocals by Howard. Then a few songs sounded more radio-friendly, such as the track The Return, which features Howard Jones singing in more of a crooning style. Then the track Take Me Away had a brighter, almost power metal type of sound, as well as some clean parts that sounded like the band Stained almost. So there's a little bit of a post-grunge sound in here as well. But I like the album. It comes in at number 8. Next is Disarm the Descent, released on April 2nd, 2013 through Roadrunner. Band's first album with Jesse Leach on vocals since 2002's Alive or Just Breathing. And this one has Howard vocalist. He left because of an illness, and he joined a different group. But it was all like on good terms. But the album features In Due Time, and this was the first single and also nominated for Best Metal Performance at the 2014 Grammy Awards. And the album opens with Hell and Me. Track's really heavy. It shows the return of Jesse. His vocals are on top form. Songs a mix of clean and harsh vocals and some killer drumming by Justin Foley. Then the next track, Beyond the Flames, has some killer guitar riffs and more clean vocals. Then the track In Due Time has really cool guitar riffs. And another song I like called A Tribute to the Fallen had really cool galloping guitar riffs. And if you notice, I keep repeating guitar riffs. This is a very riff-filled album. That's why I keep saying that. But there's also the track, we have maybe one of their heaviest tracks that they had recorded up to that time. And then the track No End in Sight had more of that hardcore feel with those screaming vocals and some slower rhythms. It's really good. It's lower than I want it to be, but it comes in at number 6. Next is Incarnate, released on March 11, 2016. Second album with Jesse after his return to the band. And the band had some issues while recording the album. Jesse Leach kind of went through some writer's block after writing the first few songs. But they pulled it off, and it opens with the track Alone I Stand. This has the band's melodic side, but also brings back some of those hardcore style vocals. Then the track Hate by Design had more of that classic metalcore sound with some killer riffs and harsh vocals. And the band also has a few songs that focus more on the clean vocals, such as track number 3, Cut Me Loose, and that's a good example of the clean vocals. There are some tracks in here that sound more of that like post-grunge. I mentioned the band Stained before. I'm going to say it again. It kind of reminded me of that on a few songs. Then there's a track Strength of the Mind. This is everything you would expect from the band. Killer riffs, great hooks, but then it gets soft again with a track Just Let Go. Had more of a radio-friendly sound, but still classic Killswitch Engage. I hear some acoustic guitars on the track Quiet Distress, and I think it's the first time I heard acoustic guitars from this band. If I'm wrong, correct me, but the album has a little bit of everything. It has the old school heavy tracks, the more accessible and melodic tracks, the softer moments, the heavier moments. And another one, I want it to be higher, but it's not. It comes in at number 7. I have 2 more albums. Next is Atonement. This was released on August 16, 2019. Another good one. I remember when this one came out. Also has the track Unleashed, nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Metal Performance and their 3rd Grammy nomination. It's one of those albums, I thought it was going to rank it lower, but I've been listening to it a lot, and it did go up a few spots. So the best song on the album is called The Signal Fire. This one has the return of Howard Jones, and he sings on this as a duet with Jesse Leach. And I think it's the only song where the two of them appear on together. Again, if I'm wrong, correct me. Then a track, Us Against the World. This shows off their melodic side. Has more melody, some of that. It also has some heavier parts. Then there was The Crownless King. This has guest vocals by Chuck Billy of Testament. And another good one has a really cool, almost thrash metal style guitar riffs. And another good song called I Am Broken Too has some really good emotional lyrics. And I haven't mentioned lyrics yet, but this band writes really good lyrics. I like everything that they write. And they have some heavy stuff here as well. As Sure as the Sun Will Rise, it has some killer vocals, some cool blast beats, and really great drumming. And some slower tracks like Take Control had more of a polished sound. but still a really good track. Overall, I like it a lot. I like it a lot more than I did before. But before I rank it, let's talk about this Consequence, released on Metal Blade Records. So they have a new label and released on February 21st, 2025, which is just a few weeks ago as of this recording. So the new album, I reviewed this when it came out. I had my doubts, but it has grown on me. And by grown on me, I mean a lot. And probably one of the albums I've listened to the most since its release. The opening track, Abandon Us, just a killer track to open the album, has both clean and heavy vocals. Then Discoordination, another killer track, is really heavy, brings back the classic sound of the early days. Then the track Aftermath shows off more their melodic side, but I still like that one a lot. And then there was a single, Forever Aligned, a great track, it's really heavy, has some intense drumming. And the next single, I Believe, which I didn't like at first, but it grew on me a lot, and I think it's one of the catchiest songs, maybe one of the most memorable they have written in a long time. Then Where It Dies, they bring back that heaviness with a thrashy guitar riffs. Overall, a great return for the band. So overall, the ranking is going to be Atonement comes in at number 5. This Consequence comes in at number 3. So that's all. Let me know your ranking of the albums by Killswitch Engage. Thanks for watching. Check out my full review of this Consequence. I'll stick that right here. Give the video a like. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe. If you're not already, I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.